Today I thought I'd talk about the art of navigating transitions. When you start to look at your life, you realize that you are transitioning in every moment, from one moment to the next, from one experience to the next. So life is a process of embracing the journey from endings to new beginnings. I was recently just given that opportunity as my beautiful, beautiful yellow lab, Bailey, made her transition after 12 years, left the body. And so now a new beginning has come. There was a time after she left, and now 2 weeks after that, we got Nikki, our new yellow lab puppy. It's a whole new beginning. And you have to embrace it because it's different. A new beginning is different than an ending, because when Bailey was at the end of her life, the last 3 years, she was blind and she was diabetic. So she was a very peaceful, lazy dog, easy to be with. Now Nikki, the puppy, Nikki's all over the place. You've got to train her. You've got to watch her. You've got to body train her. You've got to deal with the high amount of energy that she's got. And so before we went and got the puppy, Gene and I, and Steve, my son, who's living with us, we had to embrace that our life was going to change drastically. And so let's talk about this idea of understanding endings. Endings are an inevitable part of life, ranging from the completion of a job, the completion of a relationship, or any other chapter of your life. It could be going from this job to that job to that job. It could be going from one friendship to another friendship to another friendship. It could be going from one restaurant to another restaurant. They're all chapters, going from first grade to second grade to third grade to college, going from being at work, going into retirement. But endings are an inevitable part of life. Just think of it this way. Every day ends. There's an ending to every day. There is a limited amount of time in a day. It's essential that we acknowledge the emotions that accompany these endings, no matter what type of emotion it may be, in order to understand what this ending may represent, of what lesson there may be here for you. So when you understand that when something is ending, when Bailey's life ended, the feelings of grief, of sadness, led to the idea that we wanted the joy of a dog in our home. That's why we got the puppy. It could be that you had such a negative experience that maybe you don't want another dog. That's okay too. And maybe your lesson is, I don't have the patience or the time. That's okay. There is no right or wrong. It's just that we acknowledge the emotions that accompany an ending. I can remember when my mom died, and I was so very, 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 very sad. My mom was one of my dearest, dearest people in my life. And the grief that I felt, the lesson I got, though, was one that my father said after she had passed. And he said, Lee, I wish I'd done more for your mother to help her at the end of her life than I did. That wisdom has stuck with me. And from that moment on, I do more to support my wife than I ever did before. I do that so that if my wife passes before I do, I can say, I was there. I was her full partner. I supported her. And that's the lesson of the ending of my mother's life. The other lesson that I got from that ending was, appreciate the people you love in your life now. Appreciate the great job you have now. Appreciate your great health that you've got now. Appreciate the abundance you've got now. because everything changes in an instant. So we must then, if we understand endings, they're inevitable, then we must learn then to what? Embrace change. Because change will always be a constant force in our lives. And transitioning from one aspect to another requires a willingness to embrace the unknown. It's natural to feel discomfort and fear in the face of change. It's also an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. We came into this world of contrast. And guess what? Change is the one thing that is constant. And most people are trying to hang on to the old, to the known. But when you hang on to the known, your life doesn't change. And I'll tell you something, it's in our DNA that we get bored without change. Embracing change is one of the most critical things that allows you to flow through life. Without the embracing of change, the cosmic 2x4 of the universe is going to be batting you upside the head over and over and over. Because you are here to become more aware of your true infinite nature, and that's the journey of self-discovery. So let's now look at the power of reflection. Reflection is a powerful tool to assess your values, strengths, and passions. What have you learned from your past experiences, and how can these lessons shape your path forward? So it's really interesting. The other day, a couple days ago in meditation, I was reflecting on where I was, and I realized I'd gone through the death of my dog, I've gone through the getting of a puppy, and the things that were important to me, I was not as committed to, I wasn't in integrity to. And so what I realized, I wasn't feeling good. So then I went through and I started, what am I willing to commit to? And I came up with 14 things. I won't name them all, but I'll name some of them. I commit to doing Wim Hof breathing daily. I'd stopped with the puppy because I just didn't feel I had the time for the puppy to be there. And my wife and I do that together. I committed to that. I committed to doing my morning meditation, which I never stopped, but I committed to that. I committed to my afternoon meditation, which I've let slide a little bit. I committed to working out at the gym on weight training 5 days a week. I committed to doing cardiovascular training 5 days a week. I committed to walking the dog every day. With Bailey, I didn't have to walk her. She was blind. She couldn't walk. With Nikki, she's a puppy. She needs to walk. And I love walking her. I committed to being present in the moment. I committed to being grateful at the end of the day. I committed to drinking 64 ounces of water. I committed to being a vegetarian. You see, I did reflection on all of these things and more. And I said, how do these things express in my life? And what are the benefits? And based on that, I'm able to use this tool of reflection to create things that I would commit to, that I know make my life better for me. Reflecting on your journey allows you to gain clarity, identify patterns, and set intentions for the next new chapter of your life. You can see that's what I've done, isn't it? I reflected on where I was and what I thought was valuable, and was I committed to it? Here's the big thing. What I commit to is my word. And my word is my brand. My word is everything. Until you commit to something, you're putting out a haphazard brand. And what's most important, it's not what others think about you based on your brand. It's how you feel about yourself based on you living up to your word. That's the single most important thing. I know that yesterday, for example, I lived up to all the 14 commitments that I put out there. And in doing so, man, did I feel good at night. I slept good, and I woke up enthused about living my brand again today. It's also about this idea of transitions. It's about setting intentions for your future. Moving from one state of being and transitioning into another requires evaluating your highest values and setting new intentions and goals. This is one of the things that I got from Dr. John Demartini, is the importance of knowing what you value most. What do you most desire in your life? What is most important to you? For me, my number one value is to become more aware. My number two value is to teach. My number three value is personal health and well-being. My number four value is interpersonal connections. My number five value is being financially free to do what I want, when I want, how I want. My sixth value is traveling and experiencing other cultures. So when I look at my life and I'm setting my intentions for this upcoming year, I look at what I value most. But more importantly, I look and make sure that what I valued last year is the same this year. Or is there a shift in order? Or is there a new value that is coming out? Most people don't know their top values because most people have not done the work to understand them. If you're interested in that, you can go to agapespiritualcenter.com and you can sign up, and I'll do a one-on-one values session with you. There's a cost, well worth it. It'll be the single best thing you've ever done in your life, because you'll get to know who you are, and then you can set realistic, meaningful intentions for your future. Once you've set these intentions for your future, then the idea of transitioning, it's about becoming resilient. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from challenges and setbacks. Resilience is about building strength to overcome new challenges. I'd arranged for my parrot to be with a neighbor while Gene and I and Steve went up to Denver for Christmas. Well, the neighbor, something came up. They couldn't watch it. So what did I have to do? I didn't just bitch and moan and complain. I said, what are my options? I was resilient, and I came up with my other alternative. It's the same thing in every life. There's always going to be setbacks in life. Things are not always going to go as you plan. But if something's important to you, you bounce back. Realize that you only procrastinate on things that are not high values. If you're procrastinating about something, it's because it's not a high value to you. And the only way to get it done is you've got to be able to build the number of benefits. You've got to associate a lot of benefit to what you're going to get done for you to stop your procrastinating. Next, in the transition state, embrace the now. You hear that over again. Be in the now. When you embrace the now, you understand that life is a journey of living in the now. We must embrace the beauty of the process as we move from one aspect of life to the next. Love the now. Love the next now. Love the aspect that was in the past. Love the current. Don't just live in the past. Don't live in the future. Embrace now. If it's painful, that's okay. Embrace the pain. There's a lesson to be learned. And then resiliently move on. It's always about moving forward. Navigation is a process that conscious creators embody and use. Without it, we are like a ship in a storm with no rudder. Ergo, we have no direction. And that's where most people are. They do not navigate their lives. They do not embody that they are conscious creators and use the process of creating. They simply allow life to blow them around. And what do they have? A victim mentality. You see, it's not what happens to you. It's what you do about it, what you feel about it, and how you deal with it. You see, we come back again to where we begin. Everything begins and ends with you, and begins and ends with you for eternity. Life will be eternally transitioning from one moment to another, whether in your body and mind, or whether you move out of your body and your mind. but the process of moving forward is one that you are responsible for. Transitioning, make it a way of life. The power is in you. Create a great one.